Picture a house party winding down in the early hours of New Year's Eve, 2020. The bulk of the guests have left, leaving just 3 friends in a quiet, emptying house. As the silence of the night settles in, they start hearing something out of place, a slow, rhythmic creaking sound echoing up from behind the locked basement door. 2 of the friends grab kitchen knives and creep down the stairs to confront whoever is down there. But they don't find an intruder. They find an empty, messy room and an antique wooden rocking chair swaying back and forth on its own in the dim light. If you've ever watched a scary movie, you know this setup. It's the exact opening to almost every supernatural horror film, perfectly designed to make you expect a ghost or a demon lurking in the shadows. Our culture is deeply obsessed with movies like The Conjuring or Evil Dead. Psychologists suggest these films act as a coping mechanism, a way for us to sit in a dark theater and safely process our primal fears. The tropes that terrify us on screen map directly onto the documented tactics of human predators. Screenwriters are simply dramatizing the specific behaviors people use to trap one another. We spend so much time looking over our shoulders for spirits or the supernatural. We shouldn't. The living are the ones who weaponize these exact methods to cause real harm. Let's start with the isolation trap. In fiction, the evil entity waits until the main characters are completely cut off from the rest of the world before making a move. Real predators rely on this exact same strategy. Take the case of a grieving man who inherited a vacant cabin near Mount Bachelor in Oregon. Seeking solace after his father's death, he packed up his dog and headed into the snowy mountains to be entirely alone. 3 days into his stay, the isolation turned against him. Late at night, he heard heavy, human stride footsteps pacing on the roof. When he went out to the balcony to investigate, he spotted a freakishly tall, unnervingly thin figure crouching completely motionless in the branches of a nearby tree. Or consider another case of extreme isolation. 2 friends hiked deep into a Colorado forest to camp in the middle of the week, miles away from anyone. As they played cards in the pitch blackness, they heard the distinct sound of a stranger humming from the tree line. The unseen stalker escalated. They started throwing things from the darkness, eventually launching a heavy stick that landed violently right in the middle of their campsite, testing the campers' boundaries and trying to provoke a reaction. This is why predators utilize extreme isolation. Out in the deep woods, the social contract vanishes. There are no neighbors to hear you scream and no police to call. Victims are left entirely dependent on their own physical defenses. Then there is the demonic mimic. It's a classic trope. An evil spirit perfectly imitates the voice of a trusted family member to lure a victim out of hiding. The real-world application of this is terrifying. One night, an 8-year-old boy woke up alone in the dark. Hearing the front door open and footsteps downstairs, he naturally assumed his parents had returned home. He crept downstairs and saw a towering silhouette standing in the middle of the kitchen. Assuming it was his father, he called out, but the voice that responded was deep, unnatural, and menacing, commanding him to go back upstairs. It wasn't his father at all. It was an intruder. Mimicry doesn't always rely on impersonating a loved one. Sometimes predators use manipulated innocence, feigning severe vulnerability or confusion to bypass your natural skepticism. Take the story of a teenager who was home alone late one night, who was highly distracted, completely engrossed in a game of StarCraft on his PC, when the doorbell suddenly rang. He opened the door to find an old woman with a fixed, menacing smile. She claimed she was lost and desperately needed to use his phone inside. But she was just bait. When he refused and went back to his room, a younger man appeared at the door shortly after, claiming the woman was his mother who wandered off due to dementia, all while the old woman was actively tapping a kitchen knife against the teenager's window. By impersonating authority or feigning need, predators exploit our social conditioning. They turn basic human kindness into a tactical vulnerability. The final, most invasive horror trope is the corrupted safe haven, the call coming from inside the house, the monster that has already breached the physical boundary of a trusted location. This played out for a young woman who rented a room in a modest house, trying to save money. She soon discovered her seemingly normal landlord was actually a documented stalker with multiple restraining orders, who became unnervingly obsessed with demanding she removed a lock from her bedroom door. Her most private physical space was violated when she woke up in the middle of the night. She looked toward the end of her bed and saw the landlord's shadowy silhouette sitting perfectly still in the darkness, waiting for her to wake up. This spatial violation applies to social boundaries too. Another man was lured to what he was told was a high school reunion by a woman he met on a dating app. When he arrived, there was no music. Instead, he was surrounded by strangers far older than him, who immediately began interrogating him with deeply personal questions in a house he couldn't leave easily. The true terror of the corrupted safe haven is the realization that the predator didn't violently break in. They skillfully manipulated the environment and the victim's trust, so that the victim willingly walked right into the trap. Geographical isolation, psychological mimicry, and spatial corruption are practical human hunting strategies. These patterns repeat because they work. The terror of the rocking chair or the footsteps on the roof stems from the realization that someone is observing you from a place they shouldn't be. That visceral reaction is the recognition of a predator invading your space. We enjoy horror movies because they offer a safe playground for experiencing fear. We face the monster, survive the night, and walk into the sunlight. But in these true encounters, there is no director to call cut. You don't need to be possessed to be a monster. The real demons walk among us. So keep your doors locked, trust your gut, and fear the living.